Millionaire, stunned watching female beggar mechanic make engine roar against all doubts. Maia Sullivan stood in the fluorescent glare of premium motors, her grease-streaked hands clenched tight, jaw set like iron. The place smelled of leather seats and cold cash, nothing like her family's battered old truck back home, the one that still wheezed through its 5th decade. She'd come here looking for a part, just one stupid part, but the look she got? Like she had dirt crawling off her skin and no business being near the showroom. August Mendez watched from his mahogany throne behind the desk, a millionaire who'd never seen dirt he wasn't paying to keep out. His eyes narrowed, skeptical. Who was this woman in tattered coveralls, sniffing around his gleaming empire? The staff whispered, sneered behind their manicured hands. What's she gonna do? Fix a Ferrari? Ha! That's when she accepted the challenge. 5 mechanics had already failed to tame the beast, a Ferrari 488 GTB, snarling in the corner like a caged lion. They'd given up, swearing off that infernal machine. August's smirk was half amusement, half disbelief. You fix that? Go ahead. Break it again if you want. Maia didn't flinch. She walked over, heart pounding like a drum inside her chest, hands trembling just a bit, but her eyes sharp as a hawk's. The room stilled, breaths caught. Staff circled, waiting for the inevitable disaster. Even August leaned back, arms crossed, ready to witness the spectacle. But as Maia popped the engine hood, a strange cold settled in the air. The engine wasn't just broken, it was a mess of secrecy. Wires twisted oddly, parts that didn't belong in a Ferrari, some stamped with fake serial numbers glaring in the harsh light. A shiver ran down her spine. This wasn't just a repair job. It was a puzzle wrapped in a lie. The room watched, whispering, "Counterfeit parts? That can't be. Sabotage? Who's behind this?" Maia dug deeper, every spark and hiss of the engine like a beating pulse, trying to choke her. The weight of being the outsider, the woman in a man's world, pressed down hard. She could feel the doubt, the sneers ricocheting in her gut, but she didn't stop. Night blurred into day as she fought the machine and the dirty secret it held. Then came the real shock. Beneath the tangle of wires, tucked away behind the fuel pump, she found a small, worn envelope. No name, no stamp, just a torn piece of paper inside, scribbled with a cryptic message. The engine's roar hides the silence beneath. Look deeper, or lose it all. A hush fell over the room. August's confident smirk vanished, replaced by a shadow of fear. Maia's chest tightened, breath caught in a sudden storm of menace and mystery. The stakes just exploded. This wasn't about a broken Ferrari or a stubborn mechanic anymore. This was about a web vast enough to tear the entire dealership apart. And Maia? She was right in the middle of it. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube has removed their subscriptions without warning. Just take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss out on any exclusive content coming your way. And while you're there, leave that powerful like that helps me a lot with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know all the amazing people who are part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. The sudden stillness wrapped around Maia like a thick fog, her heart pounding wildly against its cage. She held the envelope tightly, the cryptic message searing into her mind. Everyone watched, breaths suspended, eyes darting between her and August. August's face morphed, the confidence etched into his features cracking like thin glass under pressure. "What did you find?" he croaked, the once commanding tone reduced to an end. Maia's fingers shook as she opened the envelope wider, the scent of old paper mixing with the pungent grease of the shop. The room held an edge of disbelief, an unsettling tension simmering beneath the surface. She felt like a match in a barrel of gasoline. The engine's roar hides the silence beneath. She read the note aloud, each word heavy like a stone thrown in a quiet pond. Look deeper or lose it all. She scanned the room, eyes flicking to the mechanics, the once sneering staff now wide-eyed. "Who wrote this?" she asked, the question sharp, cutting through their murmurs. Silence again. Then out of nowhere, there was a deafening bang. The ground shook beneath her feet. Gasps erupted as everyone jerked back, eyes darting toward the sound. The Ferrari's engine roared to life without warning, metal grinding against metal, a beast unleashed. "Turn it off! Turn it off!" shouted one of the mechanics, voice rising in panic. But that wasn't the worst of it. From the back of the shop, thick smoke began to billow out, wrapping around the room like a dark shroud. August's face paled, horror mixed with bewilderment. "What the hell is happening?" he yelled, backing away. Maia fought the urge to bolt. She had to understand. As the flames licked at the edges of the hood, she felt her pulse hammering, each beat shouting at her to run. But she couldn't, not now. A figure stepped from the shadows, someone she recognized, a fellow mechanic, Tony, always quiet, but with a keen eye. His expression was grim, the silence between them heavy with dread. "We have to stabilize it," he said, voice steady despite the chaos. But he wasn't looking at her. He was focused elsewhere. "We can't let it blow." Without warning, the room erupted as workers scrambled for fire extinguishers, panic palpable in the air. The smoke grew thicker, seizing Maia's throat, blurring her vision. Then she heard it, the quietest whisper beneath the panic, a voice familiar yet terrifying. "You should have left it alone." Her heart sank. It was August, his voice laced with something deeper, something sinister. "What did you do?" Maia shouted, as clarity sliced through the chaos. "What's going on here?" As the flames flickered dangerously close to a fuel line, time slowed. August stepped closer, eyes dark, his smirk twisted into something almost animalistic. "You've meddled long enough, Maia. You have no idea what you're getting into," he hissed. And just like that, the ground erupted again, not just in flames, but a reality-shattering revelation. The sound of twisted metal and shouts engulfed her, but she felt a chill creep up her spine as realization hit her. The Ferrari wasn't just a damaged car. It was the linchpin in a scheme far bigger than she could ever have imagined. In that moment, a crack formed in everything she thought she knew about August. He wasn't just the millionaire in the corner. He was entwined in the darkness that tasted of greed and betrayal. The weight of the truth bore down on her like a looming shadow, and amidst the chaos, she saw it, the terrifying possibility of losing it. As flames flickered in orange and red, one thought spun wildly in her mind. Could she trust anyone here, or was she now the target? And just as hope began to flicker out, something clattered from the corner. A hidden compartment, undetected until now, and it creaked open, revealing a glinting object within. What lay inside could change everything. As the hatch creaked open, revealing a glinting object nestled inside, Maia's breath caught in her throat. It looked like an old key, the kind that had secrets locked away. She reached for it, her fingertips brushing the cold metal, sending a rush of adrenaline through her veins. The chaos around her seemed to fade, the roaring fire, the panicked shouts, all blurred into the background. "Maia, what are you doing?" Tony's voice sliced through her moment of stillness, pulling her back to reality. His eyes were frantic, filled with urgency. The flames were creeping dangerously close to their workbench, and the acrid smoke choked the air. "I need to see what this connects to," she called back, clutching the key like a lifeline. But even as she said it, doubt washed over her. What if this only made things worse? What if the truth was worse than the lies she'd already uncovered? August was trying to shout orders, panic bleeding through his bravado. "Get that fire under control. Someone call the fire department." But instead of commanding the room, he just seemed unhinged, a shadow of his earlier confidence. His eyes darted from the growing flames to Maia, like he was trying to calculate the risk of her knowing too much. She turned the key in her hand, feeling its weight. The flames roared louder, licking at the air like hungry snakes. The mechanics squabbled and scrambled, trying to save both the Ferrari and themselves. In that moment, everything felt intertwined. The fire wasn't just a threat, it was a manifestation of August's hidden world. Suddenly, the engine let out a final, deafening roar, and the power surged. Maia's heart sank. Something was very wrong. Then came the most unexpected twist. The hidden compartment under the Ferrari's hood popped open further, revealing not just the key, but a series of documents, each one detailing transactions, large, suspicious shipments under August's name, linking him to a larger, darker network in the auto industry. Maia's eyes widened with shock. This was no mere sabotage. This implicated him in something criminal. Gasps erupted around her. The mechanics had begun to notice, their fear morphing into a different emotion: betrayal. August's empire wasn't just built on luxury, it was built on deceit, and the tangled web reached far beyond this shop. "What the hell is this?" Tony wondered aloud, voice a mix of awe and disgust. "Is this real?" Maia was still staring at the documents, feeling the gravity of the moment settle like a stone in her stomach. Every picture, every amount scribbled in the margins, it was proof that August wasn't just a millionaire. He was a puppet master, pulling the strings from behind a charismatic facade. August's anger flared, his face twisting. "You don't know what you're messing with," he spat, his voice laced with venom. For the first time, the audience around them didn't flinch at his roar. They were riveted, wide-eyed, and silently questioning the man they had once revered. The flames crackled dangerously, drawing closer, and a sudden burst of heat forced Maia to step back, hands raised, as if to shield herself. "I know enough," she yelled back, feeling her resolve harden. She was no longer just an outsider trying to fix a car. She was a part of something much bigger, and she could feel her fate intertwined with him. But as the smoke thickened, something else shifted. From the corner of her eye, she spotted a figure lurking in the shadows, half hidden behind a workbench. A shadow that felt all too familiar. "Maia," the voice whispered, smooth yet chilling. She recognized it instantly. It was Gianna, August's most trusted assistant. But why was she here now, looking as if she'd just walked off a movie set, dressed in black and clutching something glinting in her hand? And then, in a shocking moment, Gianna drew closer, her eyes locked onto Maia's with a mixture of fear and determination. "You shouldn't have looked deeper," she said, voice low but urgent, before revealing the object she held, a gun, aimed straight at Maia's chest. Time froze as the implications crashed down like a tidal wave. Who was Gianna really? Was she merely August's loyal right hand, or was she someone playing a much deeper game? Everything hung on the precipice of that moment, the flames reaching towards the darkness. What would she choose? Would she confront the revelation or run? Would this secret bring them down or take her to the top? Time froze as the implications crashed down like a tidal wave. The flames danced wildly, but all Maia could focus on was the gun aimed squarely at her chest. Gianna's eyes, filled with fear and determination, sent a jolt of adrenaline coursing through her veins. Put the gun down, Tony shouted from behind her, his hands raised, voice vibrating with panic. The others backed away, shifting into a tight circle of terror and uncertainty. "Why are you doing this, Gianna?" Maia demanded, heart racing, her voice louder now, breaking through the thick tension. "You don't have to be a part of this." But Gianna's expression hardened, her gaze flickering to August, who stood there, a shadow of his former self. "You don't understand," she said, barely above a whisper. "I can't let you expose him. I can't let you ruin everything." Maia's mind swirled with confusion. "What do you mean? Expose what? He's the one who's—" Then came an explosive crash, and a heavy door flew open at the back of the garage, revealing a group of men in dark suits. They stormed in like a storm front, commanding, intimidating. Each one wielded a weapon, not aimed at Maia or the mechanics, but fixed firmly on August. "August Mendez, you're under arrest for conspiracy and fraud," barked the lead man, voice booming over the raging chaos. Maia's stomach sank. She could feel the disbelief rippling through the crowd. A collective gasp echoed around the room. Everything shifted in an instant. August's bravado faded as he stammered. "What are you talking about? This is ridiculous." The men moved closer, tightening the noose of truth around August's neck. For the first time, his confidence looked vulnerable, cracking under the weight of their accusation. "Evidence suggests you've been running a counterfeit parts ring from this shop." The leading officer continued. "We've traced shipments that date back years. There's no way out." And just like that, the foundations of August's empire crumbled, the stakes of the game shifting dramatically. Gianna's grip faltered, her world crashing as the shocking truth unfolded. This wasn't just a moment of betrayal. It was a collective nightmare unraveling. "Gianna, you have to," Maia stammered, her voice trembling as she tried to reach her. But the fear in Gianna's eyes spoke louder than words. Then, in a desperate move, Gianna turned the gun towards August. "You were supposed to protect us," she shouted, her voice breaking as tears brimmed her eyes. "But you've dragged us all into this." August's bravado shattered completely as he staggered back, the cool facade gone. "Gianna, no, you don't know what you're doing," he shouted, fear crawling across his features. But the panic erupted. The mechanics gasped, scrambling to comprehend the explosive turn of events. "This is what you've been hiding?" Tony shouted at August, betrayal etched in his expression. The air was thick with tension as both sides faced off. Everyone held their breath, caught in the tornado of chaos. Maia's heart raced, pulse pounding in her ears. Everything she thought she knew crumbled like ashes falling. The truth about August loomed over her like a storm cloud, ready to burst. What had at first seemed like a simple engine problem revealed itself as a tangled mess of deceit, betrayal, and danger. Suddenly, the lights flickered, dimming for a heartbeat before bursting back to life. In that split second, Gianna moved too quickly. The gun went off. A deafening crack echoed, shattering the rising tension. Time froze. Maia's heart dropped. The bullet didn't strike August. It hit a hidden gas line. An explosion of sound and light erupted, consuming everything. And in that moment, surrounded by chaos and flames, the world tilted sideways. The choice was gone. The stakes had escalated beyond repair. Everything shifted, and as debris rained down, the truth was laid bare. What came next could change them all forever. And now there was no way to tell who would walk away unscathed. The blast resonated like a thunderclap. The ground shuddered, sending tremors through Maia's body. The flames danced higher, devouring the air. Silence reigned for a heartbeat, eyes wide with disbelief, and then the chaos erupted. "Get back," Tony yelled, pushing everyone away. The mechanics scrambled, ducking behind whatever they could find. Maia felt her heart race, pounding against her ribcage like a caged animal. Then, amidst the panic and flickering shadows, she heard a voice. A low, familiar voice that cut through the chaos like a knife. "Control yourselves!" It was August. His demeanor had shifted completely. No longer the arrogant millionaire. He was now a desperate man, eyes wild. Everyone just calmed down, but the tremor in his voice betrayed his fear. Before anyone could respond, Gianna's resolve wavered. The gun trembled in her hands. "I can't. This wasn't supposed to happen." She looked around, panic flaring, as the room swirled into chaos around them. Maia took a cautious step forward, heart pounding, her own voice raw. "Gianna, put the gun down. This isn't worth it." In that split second, the gun went off again. But this time, it wasn't aimed at August. It struck the assembly line just behind him, causing a cascade of machinery to fall with a deafening crash. "What the?" Maia scrambled back, but something else caught her eye. A shadow emerging from behind the wreckage, a figure slipping between the smoke and debris. Then it clicked. No, it can't be. As the figure came closer, everything in Maia froze. It was Charlie, the mechanic who had gone missing weeks ago, the one everyone thought had left for a better job. But here he was, dirty and disheveled, fear etched into his face. "Get out!" he yelled, panic-stricken. "You're all in danger." "What are you talking about?" Maia shouted over the roar of the fire. But he pushed past the chaos, eyes darting. "August isn't who you think he is." Everyone fell silent, eyes wide, fear tightening the air. "He's been running things behind the scenes for years. This isn't just about counterfeit parts. There are people at stake." August's smug facade shattered. "Shut up, Charlie," he barked. But the tremble in his voice was unmistakable. In the tense pause, Charlie took a breath, his expression fierce. "You think I left because I wanted to? I've found something much bigger than I could handle. They're coming for you, August. They'll destroy everything." An icy realization washed over everyone, a fundamental truth they hadn't considered. The deal with the counterfeit parts wasn't just a ploy. It was the tip of a sinister iceberg. Suddenly, the lights flickered and went out. Darkness engulfed them, a blanket stitched together with screams and the smell of smoke. "What's happening?" Maia's voice trembled, pushing through the panic. "Stay together," Tony shouted, but his voice was swallowed by the chaos. Then came a crashing sound. Glass shattered, and the emergency lights flickered back on. August's expression twisted in confusion and fury. He pointed at Charlie, voice shaking. "What did you do?" In that moment, the truth hung heavily in the air. Who was really betraying whom? What had Charlie seen? And was August truly the puppeteer he appeared to be? As confusion swirled, Gianna's inner conflict festered. She lowered the gun, hesitating, the realization of her own role dawning upon her. The chaos spun faster, a kaleidoscope of fear and doubt. Then, without warning, a loud crash thundered from outside, doors bursting open with authority. Officers streamed in. The realization of the end dawned like a dark cloud overhead. "Police! Everyone on the ground!" Time froze once more. The stakes had escalated. Friends and enemies blurred in the haze, and in that critical instant, it hit Maia like a thunderbolt. Who could she trust? The threads of loyalty, love, and friendship unraveled around her. In the whirlwind of flashing lights and shouting voices, all Maia could see was a future spiraling into the unknown. And just like that, a flicker of fear sparked within her. What undercurrent had they stumbled into? Her heart raced again, grasping for clarity in the madness. But one thing was certain. They weren't just fighting for control anymore. They were fighting for their very lives. And as the realization sank in, one undeniable truth loomed. Amidst the chaos, danger lurked closer than they all realized. shrouded in shadows, blending with the very people they had come to trust. The chaos inside the garage spun on like a wild storm. Officers barked orders, and the air reeked of smoke and panic. Maia's heart raced as she stood frozen, caught between the gun aimed at her and the surging anger of August. Everything felt unstable. The fire roared like a living thing, crackling in anger. But suddenly, silence swept into the room, like a blanket smothering a flame. "Stop!" A commanding voice sliced through the noise. It was Charlie. He stood there, baring his teeth like a cornered animal, desperation written all over his face. "Everyone needs to listen. This isn't just about August." The officers hesitated, glancing at Charlie. The tension pulsed in the room, thick and suffocating. "What do you mean?" one officer barked, confusion wrinkling his brow. Charlie stepped forward, hands shaking but steady. "I saw something I never should have. August isn't the only one who's dirty. There's more." Gasps erupted. Whispers ran like wildfire. "What are you talking about?" Gianna shouted, panic sparking in her eyes. But Charlie, fueled by something fierce, continued. "They've got someone in the department. They've known about the counterfeit, but they let it go for a cut." "Cut? Who?" yelled Tony, voice brimming with disbelief. "Someone strong enough to make them look the other way. Someone in this very room." Charlie pointed, eyes darting, filled with urgency. Dread overshadowed Maia. The possibility felt impossible, but everything had spiraled beyond sense long ago. "Who?" another officer asked, taking a step closer, tension coiling like a spring, ready to snap. Charlie took a breath, holding it like a fragile secret. It's Tony." Gasps echoed, and the atmosphere turned electric. Tony snapped his head toward Charlie, eyes wide with horror. "What, you can't?" He stepped forward, fists clenched in disbelief, ready to defend himself. "Don't pretend you didn't know. I saw the transactions. You were in on it," Charlie shouted, voice sharp like broken glass. Everything exploded then. A rush of voices, accusations flying, eyes narrowing. "I didn't," Tony began, but the words fell flat, swallowed by disbelief. "Enough!" August's voice, once commanding, now wrecked, cut through the chaos again. "You think I'm the one pulling strings. You really don't get it. You're all pawns in a game much bigger than us." "What do you mean?" Maia's voice trembled, panic and fear threading through her words. "I've played my part," August said with a deadened tone, gaze moving towards the shadows. "But even I wasn't prepared for what I set in motion. You've all walked into a trap." A shadow stirred behind August, someone concealed, hidden in the chaos. With a swift motion, the shadow stepped into the light. "You're right," a cold voice said, hatred dripping from every word. It was another officer, the one who had been silent until now. The true mastermind, eyes gleaming with malicious delight. "You've all meddled too much." Maia's breath caught, a lump forming in her throat. "You?" "Yes," the officer sneered, and the weight of every previous interaction crashed into Maia like a tidal wave. "And now you get to find out how deep the rabbit hole really goes." In a flash, chaos erupted again as the officer lunged forward, the tension snapping like a taut string. Shots rang out, the world swirling into a haze of screams and shouts. Fear clawed at Maia's insides as she stumbled backward, her mind racing. Who could she trust? Who was telling the truth? Everything was a facade, slipping through her fingers, untangling like frayed wires. Amidst the sudden chaos, she felt a clattering beneath her foot, and turned to find an object, a small device echoing the tension in the room. She snatched it up as she bolted, realizing it could change everything again. As the world spun out of control, she clutched the device tight, knowing, whatever it was, this twisted game was far from over. And somehow, she was right in the eye of the storm. As the chaos swirled around her, fear pinched at Maia's chest. The device she held felt like a heartbeat in her palm, pulsing with potential, but the air thickened with danger. August stood frozen, his face pale, caught between the menacing officer and the unraveling truth. Gianna's face contorted as uncertainty washed over her, while Tony's fists clenched in a mix of anger and disbelief. "Charlie, what do you mean?" Maia took a step closer to him, her heart racing, desperately trying to grasp the reality spiraling away from her. The fire crackled, a dark reminder of the twisting tensions around them. But Charlie's gaze remained focused on the officer, raw and desperate. "I saw the deal, the whole thing. They're using this dealership as a front, selling more than just parts," he shouted, voice trembling with urgency. "You can't trust anyone." The room vibrated with energy, breaths suspended, waiting for the coming storm. August sneered, trying to regain control. "You think you know everything? You're just playing a part." "Shut up," Charlie snapped. "You're the one pulling strings, August. But you're not the only player here. You never were." Every eye turned toward the officer, now grinning like a wolf. "Guess the cat's out of the bag, huh?" He stepped closer, authority radiating off him like heat. "And you thought you were the smartest in the room?" Maia's stomach churned. This wasn't just a game anymore. It was a fractured reflection of their lives. The tension in the room became a palpable, suffocating force. Just then, the officer produced a sleek device from his pocket. A remote, smooth metal reflecting the flickering lights. "This little beauty? It controls the security system. You see, I've been building my own empire right here, while you all thought it was just August pulling the strings." He pressed a button, and the lights flickered again. Suddenly, screens embedded around the shop lit up, displaying live feeds of everyone's movements and whispered conversations, evidence packaged neatly for whoever was watching. Gasps filled the room. "What the hell?" Tony sputtered. "They're going to come for all of you now," the officer said, voice dripping with mock sympathy. "I made a fortune selling counterfeit parts, but now everyone will know." Cardboard houses and broken dreams, huh? Tension crackled. The air turned electric. Then, with startling suddenness, a loud bang echoed from outside. Glass shattered, and chaos erupted. The officer turned, alarm creeping onto his face. What the? The moment froze. Everyone held their breath. Then a group of masked figures stormed in, armed and ready. The reality hit hard. They were here for the officer, not any of them. "No!" the officer shouted, fear breaking through his bravado. But it was too late. A shot rang out, resounding through the room like thunder. The officer staggered backward, disbelief etched on his face, before collapsing to the ground, life draining away. Maia's scream caught in her throat. This wasn't just a fight for control. It was a fight for survival. All at once, the dynamics whirled violently. Betrayals, truths, everything crowded into that moment. "Out! We need to move!" Charlie yelled, adrenaline fueling the panic. Everyone scrambled. Coney shoving past Gianna, as Takeem, one of the masked intruders, pointed his weapon. "We're not after you! Get out now, or you'll be collateral!" Gianna's eyes flickered with realization. She dropped her weapon and ran. "We need to go now!" Maia clutched the device tighter, pushing forward. She didn't know what would happen next or who else to trust. But one thing was painfully clear. Everything had changed. The very threads that bound them together unraveled like wool pulled from a sweater. Then came the silence after the blast. A haunting calm flooded the room, but as they moved, she could still feel the eyes watching, shadows shifting. What had started as a mechanical problem had ignited into a deadly affair, and the danger wasn't just hovering, it was closing in fast. Where were they headed, and how would they survive this dark wave? The truth lurked, ready to immerse them all deeper into a chaos none could predict. The chaos continued to pound around them like a relentless storm. Maia's heart raced as she clutched the device tightly, the weight of it grounding her amidst the whirlwind of confusion. Shadows danced on the walls, flickering with the flames, and her breath came in short. The officers sprang into action, shouting commands, hands gripping their weapons. "Get down!" echoed through the thickening smoke, but Maia couldn't move. All she could hear was the rapid thud of her heartbeat, drowning out everything else. "Come on, Maia, we have to go!" Charlie's voice sliced through her fog of fear, but as she turned to run, she caught a glimpse of August, his face pale and trembling, a sharp contrast to his usual bravado. He wasn't the master manipulator standing tall anymore. He was just a man cornered, stumbling in his own web of lies. But there was something more, something lurking beneath his fear. It flickered in his eyes. Something hungry, something dangerous. "Maia," Charlie urged again, but chaos erupted around them. One masked intruder shouted at the officers, "Clear the way, we're not here for you." Their gaze locked on August. Panic surged. The air felt electric. "What do you mean?" August shouted, backing up, his voice now trembling. "I'm not the target." "Doesn't matter," one of the masked men snarled, lunging at August. The world swayed, a whirlpool of confusion and fear enveloping them. They all knew this was more than just a brawl. Everything was about to explode. Then a piercing siren cut through the chaos, and the doors burst open again. More police, reinforcements rushing in. The light flooded the dim garage, illuminating the chaos in shocking clarity. "Hands up, everyone on the ground." The masked figures exchanged frantic glances. "We don't have time for this," one shouted, and suddenly, everything broke apart. Gunshots rang out, echoing like thunder, and the air, thick with uncertainty, crackled. Maia ducked, heart pounding as she scrambled to grab Tony's arm, pulling him down, the heat of the moment enveloping them. "We have to get out," she yelled, adrenaline pumping through her veins. But in the tumult, someone seemed to shift in her peripheral vision. August's lips curled in a way that sent icy fingers down her spine. It was a smile, but not the kind of smile you'd expect from someone pitiful. With a sudden motion, he stepped away from the fray, retreating towards the shadows with surprising agility. "You fools," he bellowed, laughter bubbling into the chaos. "You think you can take me down here? You're merely pawns." Maia's gut tightened. It was then she realized something was very wrong. The intruders paused, watching him. Disbelief flickered in their eyes. "What do you mean?" One of them growled, confusion mixing with fury. Then, without warning, August produced a small device from his pocket, a remote control. "You had no idea, did you?" His voice dripped with disdain. "That I was always 2 steps ahead of all of you." Maia's mind raced. What?" she stammered, the room tilting. It dawned on her. The plans, the transactions, the very essence of what had spiraled out of control. With the press of a button, the garage doors slammed shut, trapping them inside. Red lights lit up, and an alarm blared, drowning them in despair. "You," Gianna gasped, horror etching her features. "You did this!" August laughed again, a sinister sound that shattered something inside her. "Do you think I built this empire on nothing? You have no idea who I am, none of you." Time seemed to hang in that moment, caught between revelation and dread. Then it happened. A deafening rumble echoed from above, and the ceiling began to crack, dust raining down like ash. "The whole place is rigged," Charlie shouted. "Get back!" Tony screamed, trying to shield everyone. But it was too late. In that moment of realization, the truth came crashing down harder than ever before. August was no longer just a savoir in a car's repair, but a dangerous puppet master, tangled in a conspiracy far beyond what they had imagined. Then everything exploded. A blinding flash and deafening roar consumed them. In the haze, Maia couldn't tell what was real anymore. Her heart raced, adrenaline surging. There was no way out. Was this where it all ended? Would the web August spun drag them into oblivion, leaving them trapped forever in a nightmare they never saw coming? The explosion echoed like a funeral dirge, reverberating through Maia's bones. She felt the heat rush at her, clawing at her clothes and skin. Panic rippled through the group as they staggered back, stunned. She clutched the device tight, but it burned in her palm as the red lights danced ominously. August's laugh clamored through the rubble. "You think this is the end?" Pathetic. His bravado cut through the chaos, but just barely. Time stretched, a cruel parody of reality. The air grew thick with fear. Charlie and Tony pulled Gianna close, whispering hurriedly, but Maia was lost in the moment. Everything she thought she knew was slipping away, and then a jolt rocked the building. The sound of shattering glass pierced the air, but it wasn't just the explosions. No, this time was different. Something wasn't right. A shadow folded over them like a shroud. In an instant, a figure stepped through the haze, silhouetted against the flickering flames. Her breath caught in her throat. It was her estranged father, Stephen. The man she had thought lost years ago, the one who vanished without a trace. But how? Why here? "Maia!" he shouted, a desperate urgency etched across his features. Her world tilted. Why was he here? "We have to leave, now!" "Dad?" The word felt foreign, heavy on her tongue. Confusion twisted emotions into knots in her stomach. "What are you doing here?" He rushed toward her, eyes darting between the chaos. "I never left town. I had to keep you safe." "Safe?" August sneered from the shadows, his voice dripping with contempt. "You think you can just stroll back into her life after everything? You're a ghost." Stephen ignored him, grasping Maia's shoulders, his grit firm. "I've got information, real stuff about August, stuff that could destroy him and this entire operation." The others looked between Maia and Stephen, disbelief plastered on their faces. She felt the weight of every gaze, questioning, unsure. Could she really trust him? "Your father is a coward," August barked. "He ran when things got tough." "No!" Maia shouted over him, drawing strength from her father's presence. "He's here now. That's what matters." But August wasn't done. "You fool! He's playing you!" Stephen shook his head, urgency sharpening his voice. "I've been tracking what's been happening at this shop long before you all even knew. I didn't know it would come to this." A heavy moment hung between them, the truth wrapped tightly around Maia like a vice. The accusations blurred. Then another eruption. A wall collapsed nearby, smoke and debris tumbling down. "We need to move," Charlie yelled, panic sharpening his tone. "Do you remember the stories? The corruption?" Stephen's eyes locked onto Maia's. "It's deeper than anyone here realizes. August is just a pawn. There are people above him pulling the strings. People who will do anything to silence you all." Maia felt that familiar tug in her heart, both longing and fear. "What are you saying?" But in that moment of questioning, everything shifted with brutal suddenness. A loud crash, and the masked figures moved forward. "Time's up, Mendez," one shouted, flanking August. Their eyes were cold, calculating. With a swift motion, August pressed the device in his hand, and suddenly, everything went black. The lights went out entirely. In the pitch dark, breath caught in her throat. The world felt like it was closing in. "Maia, stay close," Stephen urged, panic lacing his words. But where was he? Where was anybody? In the silence, a scream cut through. Gianna's voice, desperate and sharp. "Get off me!" A scuffle echoed, small sounds turning into a thunderous wave. Maia's heart raced, blood thrumming in her ears. And then, just as suddenly, the alarms blared, lights flicking back to life, revealing a world turned inside out. Everything was chaos. The masked figures were scrambling, but more importantly, they were retreating. "We'll be back," one yelled. But there was a difference now. Their confidence was crumbling. Maia turned to see August, eyes wide with rage and something deeper, fear. Turning to her father, she shouted, "What's going on? Why are they running?" But then she saw it, a flicker of realization in Stephen's eyes. Because the true danger isn't outside. Before he could finish, an enormous blast tore through the building, far larger than before. The walls shook, mortar crumbled, and in a deluge of dust, the truth emerged. There, amidst the wreckage, stood another figure, someone they never saw coming. Enough games! It was the police chief. A crooked smile set upon his face, a gun drawn, eyes gleaming sinisterly. "You all stepped into a web you can't escape. You can't unravel what's already begun." The room felt electric with fear. Questions surged as else crumbled. August backed away, realizing he wasn't in control anymore. The world Maia knew shattered to pieces. "What do you mean?" Maia gasped, her heart racing. Every instinct screamed to flee as the sphere of danger enveloped them. "Welcome to the game," the chief said smoothly, unfazed as sirens wailed in the distance. "And now you're part of it, one way or another." The tension hit a breaking point, and Maia felt her heart racing, the truth curling around her like smoke. "Maia," her father shouted, urgency coursing through every syllable. "We have to stop this together." But was it too late? Everything spiraled into chaos and confusion, and Maia was left hanging in the balance, torn between trust and the betrayal whispering in the dark. As the world crumbled around them, a single thought flickered in her mind. Was this truly the beginning or an end? And could she even keep her loved ones safe when everything was so intertwined with deceit? The world felt like it was collapsing in slow motion. Smoke and chaos swirled, casting shadows that flickered like ghosts around Maia. "This is it," she thought, panic bubbling in her throat as she clutched her father's arm. "We have to move, now." As the police chief took another step forward, eyes gleaming, a shot rang out. A bullet whizzed past, ricocheting off a metal beam, causing debris to rain down. The tension in the air was almost suffocating, a volatile mixture of fear and desperation. "Run!" Charlie shouted, breaking the spell. Everyone surged forward, pushing and shoving, desperate to escape the inferno that was once a sanctuary. "Maia, don't let go of that device!" her father yelled as they ducked under a falling piece of wreckage. She gripped it tighter, feeling its weight in her palm, anchoring her to the moment. They burst through the shattered doors into the dim light outside. The sirens wailed, flashing red and blue, engulfing everything in confusion. As they stumbled into the street, Maia turned back, heart pounding. "Is everyone okay?" she gasped, surveying the chaos. Gianna was shaking. Tony checked on Charlie, and the masked figures had vanished into thin air. "Not a scratch," Charlie said, breathing heavily, but his eyes darted around, still wild with fear. Then Maia felt the ground shift beneath her, uncertainty creeping back in. What about August? But even as she said it, August emerged from the haze, unsteady but unbroken, and a swarm of police cars surrounded the lot, officers flooding out, armed and ready. The real danger loomed for August. He had nowhere to hide now. "Get down! Hands up!" they shouted, rushing towards him. His fate clung at the edges of Maia's mind. Would he pay for everything he had done? August stumbled back, and behind him, the remnants of his empire fell apart, quite literally. "You don't know what's coming," he screamed, but his words were lost in the chaos as officers descended upon him. With a long-held breath, she could feel something shift inside. The whoosh of air spilling from her lungs released the weight of the moment. They were safe. They had outmaneuvered the storm. But as the police apprehended August, her heart fell. Maybe the truth didn't come without consequences. They moved to the side, watching the officers take August away. Gianna stepped closer to Maia. I didn't know," she whispered, shame shadowing her features. "I believed in him." "Sometimes what we believe is not what's real," Maia replied softly, understanding flickering between them. In the distance, Stephen looked at Maia, something unsaid hanging in the air. "We'll figure it out," he promised, and she nodded, not fully believing, but clinging to hope. As sirens faded, the sun began to rise, casting its golden light over the wreckage. They had survived, for now. But as Maia looked toward the horizon, a question gnawed at her. What else would unravel in the light of truth? The world had changed around her, but the shadows remained. "Please, tell me you're ready for what comes next," she whispered, feeling the device pulse in her hand, uncertain of all the battles ahead. And as they walked together under the warming rays, the unknown stretched before them. They had taken one step toward freedom, but many more loomed in the distance. Was this truly the end, or merely the start of something more? Only time would tell. Hey, before you go, this is the moment to act. You must subscribe now to the channel so you won't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now and feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this wild ending. Don't wait one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to know this ending. Only true fans can support the channel by doing this. Let's keep this amazing journey going.